Hi, and welcome to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 279, and today's date is February 1st, 2014, and the title of this episode is The Current Economic Collapse News Brief for this Saturday. Let's get right into the economic collapse news. And, out in Europe, we understand they are in a recession/depression. I mean, let's just call it. They have double-digit unemployment. We're seeing it in Greece, Cyprus, Spain, Portugal, Italy, France. The UK people are diving into their savings, getting payday loans to make ends meet, and things are not going well there. Yesterday I talked about a person who lives in Greece and how rough it is out there, and in Spain right now the suicide rate has increased by 11.3%. Suicide was the second cause of death after cancer among men and women between the ages of 25 and 34. And we have to remember, this is the youth group out there, and what we are seeing is they have been hit very hard. The amount of people who are unemployed in Spain in this age range is around 58%, approaching 60%, and they don't see any way out. And right now, they are just taking their lives to get out of the situation that they're in. And it is just really horrible that it has come down to this. And we're seeing this in every single country. I mean, Greece, people are having a very rough time. Cyprus, they're having a rough time. France, they're having a rough time. And this is going to spread further and further across those private Western Central Bank countries. Here in the U.S., there are many people suffering, many people who are having a very rough time. And of course, we have the food stamp program, and many other countries also have the same type of programs. And we're around 50 million people who are on the food stamps. People are getting unemployment benefits, and now they're running out. So more and more people are going to have a very rough time surviving in this type of economy. And what's been happening is, since the economy has been declining over a period of time, it's like a slow bleed, and it's hurting more and more people. And those who've been hurting for a while, it's hurt even more. And those people who are just losing their jobs, they're just feeling the first part of it, and as time goes on where they can't find jobs, they're going to start hurting, and this is just going to spread further and further as time goes on. And we understand that many companies are laying off these high-paid full-time jobs, and when people get laid off, they don't understand why they can't find another job because unemployment is so low, and we understand that's all manipulated, and this is why they really can't find jobs. And out in England, we saw that Barclays have been closing branches, laying off people. Lloyd's Banking Group has laid off people, and now Bank of England is letting go about 100 positions in their bank. And we also seen 3 suicides from bankers. So something is going on here, and we can tell that we are probably getting very close to some type of economic problem, and we keep on calling it the collapse, and this is probably what is actually happening at this point, because they see the writing on the wall, they see what is coming, they understand that this is all completely manipulated, these numbers don't make any sense, the markets have been pumped up by the central bankers, and if you ever look, all the countries that these central bankers go into and push debt on top of these countries are completely crumbling and imploding on themselves. And again, they keep doing what these central bankers want, and they keep getting more debt, and the situations in these countries continually get worse and worse. Now, to control these type of situations, what they are doing, they're enacting draconian laws, trying to take away your rights and your the ability for free speech, to have a weapon. Some countries don't even allow to have weapons at this point, like the UK, but and I'm talking about a gun. But in the UK, the media is alarmed by a government bill allowing seizure of journalists' notes right now. The UK media organization have warned that if a government bill authorizing police to seize journalists' notebooks, photos, and digital files is passed on Monday, it could seriously endanger press freedom in the country, because they need to find out who these sources are. They need to find out who is saying what, and this is why they are passing these type of laws. This is why they're passing anti-protest laws. This is why England is purchasing water cannons, because they realize what is coming. And under this bill, the police will basically be given carte blanche to access to journalists' information without their consent. And you can see where all this is headed. It is headed to a police state. And we understand here in the U.S. that we have DHS, we have TSA, they're expanding, they have many people joining their outfits, they've been purchasing weapons, tanks, they've been taking over the local law enforcement agencies, they've been giving them grants, letting them purchase tanks for $2,000 or sometimes even get them for free, because they are taking over the entire country's local law enforcement to bring them in line with DHS. And once they're in line, they will take orders from DHS, and they will do whatever they say. And we can see this happening right in front of our eyes. I mean, it's pretty obvious. And to make it easier for them to control the American population, they need to disarm the American people. So what they are doing is they are creating laws. Then the president's out there creating these executive orders. They're trying to get the UN Arms Treaty passed. They're trying to get the Dianne Feinstein bill passed, and they're all pending in the Senate. And the president has executive orders waiting for those bills to be passed. He also said in his State of the Union address that he will not wait for Congress, that he'll go it alone and do whatever he has to do, because what we're seeing right now is all these mass shootings is building up to the main event, and using this main event they are going to try to get these bills passed. Now if they're not passed, this is when President Obama will step in and just go ahead and get these things passed by executive order, or how he's going to try to do it, which is pretty much a dictatorship, because you're doing this without the rule of law here. But if you really look at the polls, and there was a Gallup poll that was taken, over half of Americans want to see gun restrictions loosened, not tightened. And we can see every time there is some type of mass shooting or the president comes out and signs executive orders, what do people do? They go out and they purchase more weapons, more ammunition. So whatever he is doing, he's having the opposite effect, because the people realize what is going on right now. Now, I talked about the Department of Homeland Security, and they have a new agenda in 2014, and what they're going to do is they're going to do a couple of things that's on their agenda. They want to establish new counterterrorism strategies. They want new laws in effect to declare people who are terrorists, and they're setting up new procedures to counter any type of terrorism. And again, if you really look at the DHS, they have done absolutely nothing for terrorism, because where is the actual terrorism coming from? Oh, that's right, the FBI, the DHS, to scare the American people. This is why, if you look at their alert system, they never have anything on there. And I put this on my reports many, many times, because they are not looking for real terrorists. They are keeping an eye on the American people, using their fusion centers, and they're keeping track of the people. And this is who they consider terrorists. And this is why they spied on Occupy Wall Street. This is why they had surveillance on all of these people. Now, in 2014, they want a more effective DHS. They want more local law enforcement under them, ready to stand with them. And what else are they looking for? Well, they want to enforce effective cybersecurity legislation. They want legislative actions addressing information sharing, supply chain security, cyber insurance, limited active self-defense, general awareness, education and training, technical workforce development, and international engagement that are all needed. And you can sum this up in one word, and that is CISPA. That is pending in the Senate right now, and they want this law passed so they have the ability to take over the internet. And again, President Obama has already created the cyber executive orders that supports CISPA, and this is what they are doing right now. And of course, they also want a more secure homeland. They want to take it down to the lowest level, make sure that there's checkpoints, make sure everyone is accounted for, and they want to make sure that they're keeping us all safe with more security checks, more checks, more checks, more checks. And if you look at all the sporting events, if you look at the airports, if you look at the malls, they are moving into all of these areas. And I've talked about the Real ID before, and that is their way of getting all the states to give them control, to have all that information uploaded into a federal database so they can keep track of every single person. And what's going to come along with that is your fingerprints, your eye scan, and your DNA. It will be kept in the database. They will use the Real ID for checkpoints, just like in Nazi Germany when they ask for your papers. You will produce your ID. It will be checked through the database. You'll put your finger, they'll do your eye scan, they'll take your DNA to see if you actually match up. And this is their agenda for 2014. Okay, now, Iraqi forces are preparing to storm Fallujah, and Iraqi security forces are gearing up to storm the city of Fallujah, which we understand which was overrun by the people of Iraq because they want their country back, and of course they call them Al-Qaeda, and they are making a plan to go in and attack Fallujah to try to get the people out and retake control of the city. Now, and also what they are saying in Iraq, and this is all to bring the United States central bankers into Iraq because they need the forces there. And reports are coming out that they found a laboratory manufacturing chemical weapons and sarin gas in Iraq, and they're saying it's the Al-Qaeda people who are, well, they call it the Al-Qaeda affiliated extremist group who have this labs, and they're in possession of all the necessary components for manufacturing hazardous substance in Iraq at this point. And you can see they're building up the case where they're going to say, oh my God, you know, these Al-Qaeda factions out in Iraq are building these chemical weapons. They're going to be used on the people of Iraq. We need to go in there and stop them. They have weapons of mass destruction, and here we go again. We believe the first story. Are we really going to believe the second story? And of course, you know these weapons are going to go and lead right back to Syria and the Al-Qaeda faction terrorist groups in Syria. So they are going to say, listen, they're in Iraq, they're in Syria, we need to get in there because Assad is protecting them or doing whatever, and you can see how this is starting to play out right now. Now, we understand that the Geneva II talks are going on, and Syria and the rebel opposition, which is the paid mercenaries of the CIA, United States central bankers, and they're all sitting there, and there's only one objective for the meetings, and I've discussed this many times, is to remove Assad completely. And right now the Syrian foreign minister says he's rejected a U.S. request for direct talks unless Secretary of State John Kerry apologized for his comments at the Geneva II conference. The Americans asked us to negotiate directly with them, and we will not do so. We are refusing to do so unless John Kerry says he's sorry. And what did John Kerry say? Well, Kerry said in his opening remarks at the conference that Syrian President Assad would not be part of any transitional governing body in the Arab country. And again, they are saying they are a sovereign nation. The only way to remove him is through an election of the people, and you just can't come in here and say you have to remove him and put in your puppet regime so you can put our natural resources on your U.S. dollar and set up a private Western central bank in the country of Syria. And we can see what is happening right now. So Kerry is out there saying, listen, we understand that you're removing these chemical weapons, and Kerry said on Friday he warned Syria that it could face punishment by the United Nations Security Council if it fails to surrender its chemical weapons arsenal. Russia said, whoa, if you do anything with the UN at this point, we are going to veto it. We told you we were trying to get the chemical weapons out of there, and we're having problems because of the paid mercenaries, which are making it very difficult to get them through the roads. And we've been attacked already once where they tried to capture these chemical weapons, and it is a very, very tough time. The UN is backing them up on this, saying, yes, it is very dangerous over there with the opposition, and the security is having a very rough time moving these chemical weapons. And, of course, they went on to say, in an escalation of U.S. threats, Kerry said that if Syria breached its commitment to hand over the deadly chemicals for destruction, the issue would be considered by the Security Council under the provision of the UN Charter that can authorize the use of force. And I remember many, many, many reports ago, back in October, November, when they were discussing this, I read you the UN resolution on this, and again, if they couldn't move these chemical weapons out of there, they would be allowed to use force, and this was still left in the resolutions. And I forgot exactly what number it is, but if you go back to October, November, one of those reports there, it does. I did discuss that information. Now, we understand that their peace talks with Iran are going on, and they're really trying to infiltrate the banks of Iran. IMF is coming in, seeing if they can set interest rates there, checking to see if how the banks are doing, and they're trying to make their move in there to sell their natural resources using the U.S. dollar in this country. And we understand that's what they're trying to do. This whole nuclear talk is smoke and mirrors. The international nuclear group has already been into Iran, saying they're abiding by all regulations. They haven't created any weapons or anything like that. And right now, the State Department Deputy Spokesman Marie Harf said on Friday that a resolution to the long-standing nuclear crisis with Iran, should current diplomatic efforts fail, is likely to involve military actions. Obama said that should talks fail, we would be the first to pursue additional sanctions against the Islamic Republic from the U.S. Congress, and it could even include a military strike. There are only a few scenarios that come out of this. Either resolve it diplomatically or we resolve it in a different way, which pretty much is a military strike. And we can see what is happening right now. And the White House and Jay Carney was out there saying, we're trying to do this diplomatically. We're trying to talk peace with Iran, but if it goes not the way we want it to go, we might have to be pushing for war. But we understand that the American people do not want to march to war at this time, and this is why we're trying to do it diplomatically and use these peace talks. And again, if Iran doesn't go along with the IMF coming in and taking over their banks, there's going to be problems. The Revolutionary Guard has already warned Rouhani, saying this is what they are trying to do, and we'll have to see how this plays out. And again, they understand, they said this, they understand the American people do not want to march to war. So if they say the Iranians are not abiding by this peace deal, what are they going to do? Say, oh, we have to make a military strike? No. They're going to use an event. Same thing with Syria. They understand the American people do not want to go into Syria. They don't feel that that has anything to do with them. But if the event occurs here in the United States or even in Sochi and implicates some of the American people and athletes there, this could be used as a strike into Syria or into Iran, depending on how this plays out. And we understand that we have the Super Bowl coming up. And again, I did a report yesterday, Friday, about will they get the green light to go in there. This also could be used going forward. Or, and I was thinking about this entire Super Bowl, since we have DHS, FEMA, all these agencies standing by, they might create an instance where there is some type of threat, but since these agencies are there, they might thwart the terrorist attack, and this way all these agencies will look like, wow, look, we finally found and we stopped a terrorist act. This is just another viewpoint of what could happen tomorrow, Sunday. And if something does happen, I will create a report on Sunday, and I will talk about what actually happened during that time period. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.